this is where a lot of researchers and scientists believe the quote-unquote lost city of Atlantis is located. See, a long time ago, that's Thera. Thera, the mountain Thera, the volcano that exploded. All those years ago. Now, Atlantis is actually a fictionalized island mentioned in the work of Plato. In his work. And I don't mean that squishy stuff. I mean the thinker, the great thinker, Plato. Now here you see where a lot of folks have been excavating and lifting up and doing their research to try to figure out if perhaps there is an underwater world that Plato based his stories on. What was Plato's inspiration for Atlantis? Or did he just come up with it? So, according to the story, according to the theory rather, a lot of folks believe that there was inspiration which hailed from the Egyptians and their reports of the Thera eruption, which was a ginormous volcano eruption which set off a tsunami. And a lot of folks reject this and say that it's just absolutely impossible that anything like this would happen. But here is Atlantis above sea. Who the hell was that? Anyways, this is Atlantis above sea. And now this is the Great Tsunami, which completely wiped out the Atlanteans. And this is Plato. That's Plato just being like, listen, it's just an old story. Good grief. And that's Little Man Jack. Now, Little Man Jack was one of the first people to believe that Plato based Atlantis more set on an actual island or actual location. Ooh, hey, what's Sphinx? Ooh, look at this. Here we are in Egypt, one of the many locations where they believed Plato drew his inspiration. But you see, according to the stories, there was a Sea People's invasion, or the Trojan War. And a lot of folks reject this theory, and they're like, no, that's impossible. And believe that he drew inspiration instead from the invasion of Sicily by the Athenians, which was roughly 415 to 413 BC. Okay, now there have been and this is Slippy Booby's mask. Slippy Booby was such a great leader during those times. Now look, here we go. Let's look around the world and just try to figure something out here a second with regards to Atlantis. Here's the 1500 BCE timeline so we can figure out what's happening. Lots of things were happening. Listen, you think times are crazy now? They were crazier then. All these things were being created. There was a lot of innovation. There were lots of stories that were being told in the form of artwork that was painted, mainly with tempera paints up on the walls. And so they really do think that, and they've tried a lot of different things. They've tried those with psychic powers and such to try to figure out where Atlantis hails from. So a lot of people think that Atlantis, who the hell are these people? Anyways, some folks think it's near the Mediterranean Sea, like around Sinai or provinces of Turkey. What the hell is that? Ooh, that is so dark and creepy. Oh, right, that's where sacrifices happen and such. Ooh, those early times when people would just saddle up next to a bull man for some good times. What in the world is happening there? Lots of stories, lots of stories. Now, as you can see, these are the old escalators of the Greco-Roman times. And once again, a lot of stories were told through art. And look, they were able to maintain and excavate and find a lot more from these times. So others say that before the 6th century BC, the mountains... Oh, see? Now this is Whoopi Staxel. Now Whoopi Staxel has been trying to really figure out and trying to get to the heart of where an actual Atlantis may be located. Now he's excavated a whole lot, and he believes that the Pillars of Hercules and these mountains in the southern Gulf, southernmost part of Greece. See, look, here are the wars and the battles. And this is Thera with all the volcano and the crazy lava. So the story goes that after the war and all that stuff, Thera happens and all this crazy stuff happens, and as punishment, the Atlanteans are sent and shipped off to the Atlantic Ocean. Around this area is where they believe a lot of the stuff happened, and that around the Mediterranean Sea is no pun intended. Look at this, more artwork from a long time past ago. Others feel that it could be in Europe. Look, say there's Greece and Turkey. That's everything I've been telling you, in Egypt. So there are researchers who believe there must be evidence of an actual Atlantis. If we follow the theory that Plato's work was inspired by actual things, here's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Here's a gas. Here's some big things. Oh, and this is Peter Hubichikakov. He was a famous Russian who believed that the remains of Atlantis were somewhere around here. That Atlantis was here. And then he wrote the book, Atlantis. See? And if you look, it says Iaston. Iaston, as we now know, is Latin for it's not real. His argument was that there's no way that this thing is happening. Atlantis was fictionalized, it's all fiction. And this is the mask worn by one of the Atlanteans, or so they say. A lot of these researchers and archaeologists, the thing is, they're finding in and around Egypt and around the Mediterranean Sea what they believe are objects and artifacts found from this actual island, Atlantis. And that Atlantis, if we say, it was swallowed by the tsunami, and then it's somewhere around here, around Bermuda, and it slipped into the Atlantic Ocean. Oh, this is Jerry Rutherford II, and he was a man who thought a lot about Atlantis and about this thing. And he made it his life mission to try and find as much as he could, try to find as many artifacts and artwork from this lost civilization. But the thing is, folks, spoiler alert, there is no Atlantis. Whatevs. I mean, folks are going to do what folks got to do. Researchers and archaeologists and philosophers will always debate and continue to search for the actual artifacts and location of a fictionalized island in the Atlantic Ocean. Atlantis! Hey, don't be stupid. Check out the links in this video's description and support us on Patreon. Support us here by subscribing.